To say the day was dreary would be a gross understatement. I had been watching the thunderheads approach all morning, dark, bloated, and menacingly tall. The twisted pillars clambered slowly into the atmosphere like tainted smoke from a raging fire. As the day dragged on into the late evening, the black and gray masses, rumbling with deep inner percussions, were now fixed straight overhead. Any color in the world was leached away as the sun was blotted out and the red autumn leaves fell into darkness, dripping with rain, stained crimson. The thicketed brambles splayed out in coils around the stream like rusty barbed wire. Gnarly and black, they became the last source of shelter for the frantically wandering bugs as the wind now carried the heavy scent of rain. The water trickled faintly, white noise echoed by the forest as a hushed silence descended through the quavering trees. This oppressive stillness was only ever broken by the menacing rumbles overhead, during which the trees seemed to hold their breath. The tension was so consuming that at any moment I was certain one of the trees would faint, collapse to the ground, fed up with holding so rigid and still. And yet they didn't budge. Their dark trunks stood like soldiers in a line. The wind in the canopy began to grow fierce, however, and despite their best attempts, they started to lightly sway. The stream seemed sick, the faintest trickle of water like a tainted sludge. Dead leaves and pine needles rode on the meandering slag, slowly carried downstream and out of view. The water was cold and filthy, the red weeds beneath the surface looking like intestines stripped from a corpse. I didn't like this place. I packed away my sample tubes as a light rain began to bead the fragile glass with water. I slowly closed my kit and carefully locked it up. I knew it was far too late to hurry now. I carefully stood and brought my hands up to shield my face. The thorns cut and tore, indifferent guardians to this place. Nothing was to enter this stream, nothing was to even get close. And yet their wall worked both ways, and now I couldn't easily leave. I walked headlong, taking each lash as it was, my right arm outstretched to shield me, my briefcase and tally sheet firmly in my left. I finally burst free of the tendrils and stood still for a time. The cool wind felt good on my sweaty skin. Suddenly, a strange gust rushed forward from within the blackened forest, staring at me, its gaping maw outstretched. I held my hat and stood my ground, but felt the sting of hot blood as my paper sliced its way out of my grasp. The murky white sheet spiraled into the brambles behind me, grazing over top before becoming ensnared by a hideous spine. That was all right. I didn't need that sheet. The numbers were far too haunting to forget. 37, 42, 7, 1. 37 rabbits. 37 drowned carcasses I had counted, each just as waterlogged as the last. 42 squirrels. 42 lifeless gray forms I had watched slowly drift past underfoot, little claws splayed out, water sloshing behind dull black eyes. 7 elk. 7 massive creatures of astonishing beauty and strength that now lay cold and lifeless, their once ever watchful eyes currently dotted with flies, a sluggish water of less than 3 inches deep flowing past their heads. One human, one man of age 26, his fingernails peeled away in a struggle, his ghastly pale skin blending him into the sickened stream, his battered limbs parting the water around him, his head bobbing faintly, his mouth brimmed with mosquito larvae, his skin waterlogged and swollen. A briefcase firmly gripped in his left hand. You see, I am a scientist sent to test the water as many deceased animals were being found. But I noticed that the water was perfectly healthy. The animals all showed signs of a struggle. And although I didn't actually find a human, as I heard a guttural growl and tried to calmly pack up and go, I figured I'd look at the trend. It's my job to extrapolate from data, to make a prediction, if you will.